Okay, it's continuing our lesson 8.1. So we're still working with solving equations, solving one-step equations. Still working with those inverse operations. We already did addition and subtraction, so today we're going to work on multiplying and dividing. First thing we're going to work with is division. So solve 4.2x equals negative 52.5. Then check your solution. Now we know from previous chapters, previous lessons, that anytime a number is right next to a variable, we are multiplying. So our inverse operation of multiplication would be division. If I bring this question down just so we have more room, 4.2x equals negative 52.5. I know that the first thing I'm going to do is drop my line down so that I remember to do everything on both sides of the equations. Remember guys, I want to see all of these steps. You are going to be graded on work throughout this chapter, not just answers. Okay, so I know I'm multiplying. We said our inverse was division, so we're going to show division with a fraction bar. So divide by 4.2 on both sides. So that gives us x equals, I do 52.5 divided by 4.2. That leaves us with a negative. Negative, positive leaves us with negative when we're dividing. 12.5. We do our check. We do our checks in blue this time. So I have 4.2x equals negative 52.5. Show my substitution. So 4.2 times negative 12.5 equals negative 52.5. We go to our calculators, do 4.2 times negative 12.5, and that does, in fact, give us a negative 52.5 equals negative 52.5, so it did check out. Go ahead and circle our answer because we know it's correct now. So x equals negative 12 and a half. Remember guys, just like I told you last lesson, when you're doing your check, actually do the calculations. Don't assume you are correct. Otherwise, there's no point in doing the check. You should always know if your answer is correct. All right, let's look at a word problem. A drive-through Safari Zoo charges $12.50 per person for admission. In 1 hour, the park raised $675 in admission fees. Write and solve an equation to find how many people visited that hour. First thing we have to do, we know this from previous lessons, we have to define our variable. So let x be, now we go back up, what am I trying to find? It tells me right here how many people visited. So let x be the number of people. Now the other information I know it's $12.50 per person. That per is important, and in 1 hour they raised $675. So per tells us we're multiplying, so $12.50 per person, x is our number of people, equals, they raised $675. So now we solve. Now that I have my equation, drop our line down. I see I'm multiplying because there's no other operation shown here. So we're going to divide both sides by $12.50. So x equals, if I do 675 divided by 12.50, 54. Now word problem guys, we know our answer has to actually make sense. If you had gotten a decimal or a fraction on this kind of question, we're talking about people. We cannot have part of a person. I'm going to go ahead and label this people, so I don't forget to come back and do it later. We always need a label when we have a word problem. Now we do our check. We'll do purple this time. So we go to our original equation. 1250x equals 675. We show our substitution. 1250 times 54 equals 675. We actually do our calculation, so 1250 times 54 does give us 675 equals 675, so we got a check. Kind of magic like that. Working in the unicorn world here. Okay, so that's our inverse operations when we start the equation with multiplication. Now, let's look at Fractions. Solving equations by multiplying. Fractions would be the same thing as division. We know we've been using division bar or fraction bars to show division. So if I see 1/4 y equals -8, we're really taking 1 times y and then dividing that by 4. So when you see fractions, in order to solve with a fraction, you are going to multiply by the reciprocal. If you don't remember from earlier in the year, the reciprocal is when we take our fraction and we flip it. So if I take 1/4 y equals -8, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. So if I take my 1/4 and I flip it, go ahead and draw our line down. So times 4/1 times 4/1. Now the reason this works, if I did 4 times 1 and 1 times 4, I would get 4/4, which we know reduces to 1. And 1 times y is the same thing as y. So they multiply out to 1, so we're left with just y equals -8 times 4/1, the same thing as -8 times 4. So that would be a -32. Now we check. So 1/4 y equals -8. Show our substitution. So 1/4 times -32 equals -8. And if I check this out, 1/4 times -32 is -8 equals -8. It checked out. So we're going to go back and circle our answer. Y equals -32. All right, next one. So -3/5 x equals -6/25. I'm rewriting it so we have a little more room because of that b. Again, we know that we solve these by multiplying by the reciprocal. It's what we just did over here. So we're going to draw our line down so we remember to do to both sides. My reciprocal of -3/5. We're going to keep it negative. So 3/5 becomes -5/3. Same thing over here. Times -5/3. Again, if I did -5/3 times -3/5, I would end up with 1. 1 times x is just x. Equals, okay, I'm going to do a little reducing here. So you might see lots of stuff in the same place, but we'll make it work. 3 and 6 are both divisible by 3, so 3 becomes 1, 6 becomes 2, 5 and 25 are both divisible by 5, so 5 becomes, -5 becomes -1, 25 becomes 5. So now -2 times -1, I know the two negatives multiplied together give me a +2, over 5 times 1 gives me 5. Double check, I can't reduce 2/5, so I know that's my answer, hopefully. I'm going to find out for sure by doing a check. So we start off with the equation. -3/5 x equals -6/25. Go ahead and do our substitution. So -3 times a +2/5 equals -6/25. -3 times 2, remember when we multiply fractions, we multiply straight across, gives us -6 over 5 times 5 is, luckily, happily, 25. Because that equals -6/25, it checks out. Go back, circle, because we know we're correct. Okay, so anytime you guys see fractions, you want to multiply by the reciprocal. That is what we will be looking for as far as work goes. Even though they're being multiplied, so 1/4 is being multiplied by y, I don't want to see division. Fractions mean to multiply by the reciprocal. So, a little practice for you here. So now you tries. 2 problems up at the top. I want to see the work, see the check. You must show your check. And then a word problem for you to work out at the bottom. All right, guys, that is the end of lesson 1, day 2.